Some miracles don't come wrapped in light. They come drenched in rain, crying softly in the arms of a stranger. The city of London moved like a tired machine that evening. Rainwater raced down the streets, bouncing off taxi roofs and bus windows. Neon lights blurred behind the fogged glass, and the sound of thunder rolled over the skyline like a restless heart. Inside a black Rolls-Royce, Ethan Rowe, 45, sat in silence. His driver, Martin, maneuvered carefully through the heavy downpour. Ethan barely noticed the chaos outside. He had spent years learning to block out the world. After Amelia died, silence became his safest place. He adjusted his cufflinks out of habit. They were silver, Amelia's last gift before her illness worsened. He never took them off. The light ahead turned red. Martin sighed. "Sir, traffic's getting worse. Should I turn toward Tower Bridge?" Ethan looked up briefly. "No. Stay on this lane." "Yes, sir." Outside, people rushed along the pavements, shoes splashing through puddles. Vendors dragged carts under broken umbrellas. The air smelled of rain, petrol, and cold pavement. Ethan checked his phone. A message blinked from his assistant. Reminder, board call at 8 p.m. He put the phone down and rubbed his temples. The board. The stock. The same endless loop. He had built an empire from nothing, but lately, it all felt like dust. Then the car slowed. Through the blur of raindrops on the window, something caught his attention, a figure sitting by a lamppost near the curb. At first, he thought it was just another beggar. Then he saw the babies. 3 of them. Wrapped in thin, torn blankets. Their tiny faces peeked out, wet, trembling, too quiet. The woman holding them sat motionless, her back bent, her soaked hoodie clinging to her skin. She didn't shout for help or raise her hand for coins. She just rocked them gently, as if the whole world had disappeared except for the 3 lives she held. A faint cry rose above the rain. Ethan looked away at first. He told himself it wasn't his business. There were always beggars in the city. He'd donated enough to charity. But something about that sound, so weak, so desperate, pulled him back. He turned again. The woman lifted her head. For a moment, the world outside the car fell silent. Her eyes met his through the glass. Deep ocean blue. The same eyes that had once looked at him from across a hospital bed. Amelia's eyes. His breath caught. He blinked, trying to reason with his mind. It couldn't be. He was seeing things, the color of the streetlights, the reflections, the grief he never buried. But when she looked up again, he felt it. That ache in his chest he hadn't felt in 3 years. "Sir?" Martin's voice broke through his thoughts. Ethan didn't answer at first. "Sir, should I move?" The lights greened. "No," Ethan said quietly. "Stop the car." Martin frowned. "Sir?" "Stop. Now." The Rolls-Royce pulled to the curb. Ethan opened the door before the driver could grab an umbrella. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of wet asphalt and city rain. He stepped out, the water soaking through his shoes instantly. "Sir, please, your coat," Martin tried to follow, but Ethan had already crossed into the street. Rain poured harder, stinging his face as he walked toward her. The woman didn't notice him until he was a few feet away. She flinched, clutching the babies tighter. "Miss," Ethan said, his voice steady but gentle, "are you all right?" She looked up quickly. Her lips trembled. "Please, sir, I don't want trouble. We'll move soon." Her accent caught him off guard. It was soft, careful, educated. He looked at the babies. Their cheeks were pale. Their tiny hands trembled beneath the soaked blankets. "Are they yours?" She nodded, barely holding herself up. "Yes, sir. All 3. Triplets." Ethan stared, struggling to understand how someone so young, so fragile, could carry such a burden. The rain didn't stop. Cars moved past them, sending waves of dirty water against the curb. Ethan took off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. "Get up," he said. "You can't stay here." She hesitated. "I don't need pity." He met her eyes again. "Then call it kindness." Her expression softened, but exhaustion pulled at her. She struggled to stand while keeping the babies close. Ethan reached out a hand. "Please." This time, she took it. They moved slowly toward the car. Martin hurried over with an umbrella, confusion written all over his face. "Sir, what? Who?" "Open the door," Ethan said. Martin obeyed, though his eyebrows shot up as the woman climbed in, clutching the infants protectively. Inside the car, the heater hummed. Ethan sat opposite her, his mind spinning. The woman kept her gaze low, whispering to the babies. Water dripped from her hair onto the seat. He watched her reflection in the window, pale skin, tired eyes, but a strange calm in her movements. She looked 27, maybe younger. Too young to have lived this much pain. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, still rocking the babies. "Lena." He nodded slowly. "I'm Ethan." She gave a faint nod. "And their names?" he asked after a pause. Lena looked at the babies and smiled weakly. "Hope, Faith, and Grace." Ethan froze. The names echoed in his head like a voice from the past. Amelia's voice. "If we ever have girls," she had once said, "I'll name them Hope, Faith, and Grace." Ethan's throat tightened. He turned to the window, watching the rain chase itself across the glass. It couldn't be a coincidence. Lena looked up slightly, meeting his gaze. "Why are you helping us, sir?" she asked. Ethan exhaled slowly. "Because no one helped me when I needed it." For the first time that night, a faint smile touched her lips. It wasn't gratitude, it was understanding. Outside, thunder rumbled again, but inside the car, it was quiet. Only the soft sound of the babies breathing filled the space. Ethan didn't know what compelled him to stop. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fate. Maybe something far deeper, something he couldn't name yet. As the Rolls-Royce pulled back into traffic, Ethan glanced once more at the woman beside him. He didn't know it yet, but this single act of kindness was about to uncover secrets that had been buried for years. Secrets that tied the stranger, those triplets, and his late wife together in ways that would change his life forever. That night, Ethan Rowe brought a stranger and her triplets into his mansion, thinking he was saving them. But in truth, he was walking straight into the heart of his own past. The drive to Ethan's mansion was silent. Rain still beat against the car roof, softer now, like it had run out of anger. Lena sat opposite Ethan, her arms wrapped tightly around the sleeping triplets. Every few minutes, she checked their breathing, her lips moving in quiet prayers. When the car finally turned into the long driveway of his estate, the golden lights of the mansion glowed through the mist like a promise. The gates opened without a word, and uniformed staff hurried out as the Rolls-Royce stopped under the porch. Ethan stepped out first, his shoes splashing through puddles. He turned to help Lena, but she was already standing, swaying slightly, exhaustion written all over her face. He reached out and steadied her arm. "Come inside," he said softly. The warmth of the house hit her immediately, gold chandeliers, polished floors, soft lights spilling across every corner. The staff froze for a moment, staring at the drenched woman holding 3 newborns in blankets that looked like rags. Ethan's voice cut through the silence. "Get towels. Blankets. Hot water. Call the doctor." "Yes, sir." They moved quickly. Someone took her wet hoodie and replaced it with a soft robe. Another set up a crib in one of the guest rooms. Lena refused to sit until the babies were dry and fed. "They haven't eaten properly in 2 days," she whispered. "Please, them first." The staff exchanged glances, no entitlement, no demand, just quiet desperation. Ethan stood by the doorway, watching. Something about her composure unsettled him. The doctor arrived within the hour, a calm, middle-aged man with steady hands. He examined each baby under warm light, his brow furrowed, then relaxed. "They're weak but stable," he said. "A few days of care, and they'll recover." Lena exhaled a breath she had been holding for too long. "Thank you." Ethan nodded to the doctor, who packed his tools and left. Soon, the house went quiet again. It was past midnight when Ethan returned to check on them. He stopped by the open door. Lena sat on the bed, humming softly to the triplets as they slept. Her voice was low, almost like a lullaby she'd sung 1,000 times. Ethan stood in the hallway, listening. Something stirred in him, a feeling he hadn't let himself feel since Amelia died. Empathy, curiosity, and somewhere beneath it, guilt. He could still hear Amelia's voice from years ago, weak but gentle, echoing through the white hospital corridor. "Promise me you'll live for something real, Ethan. Don't let work be all you have left." He hadn't kept that promise. Until now, maybe. Lena turned, startled to see him. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake anyone." "You didn't," he said. "They're peaceful when you sing." She smiled faintly. "Music calms them. It's all I have." Her accent hit him again, soft, measured, unmistakably educated. Not the kind of tone born from the streets. "Lena," he said quietly, "what did you do before all this?" She hesitated. "I used to be a nurse." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "A nurse?" "Yes. At a private hospital in East London. But I lost my job when," she looked down at the babies. "When I had them." "No husband?" he asked gently. Her hands tightened around the blanket. "He died before they were born." The room fell silent. The fireplace crackled softly in the next room. Ethan wanted to ask more, but something in her eyes stopped him. The pain there wasn't just loss, it was memory. Familiar somehow. He cleared his throat. "You should rest. My staff will bring anything you need." "Thank you," she said quietly. Ethan turned and walked down the corridor toward his study. The lights dimmed behind him as he poured himself a glass of water. He leaned on his desk, staring at the rain sliding down the window pane. His reflection looked back, tired, older, uncertain. He whispered to himself, "Why do I feel like I've seen those eyes before?" Outside, the rain began to fall again, soft, rhythmic, as if the night itself was waiting for answers. Sleep never came that night. Ethan sat in his study long after the rain had stopped, staring at the shadows flickering across the walls. The house was quiet again, too quiet. Every tick of the clock felt louder, every creak in the floorboards reminded him he was alone with his thoughts. He had brought a stranger and her 3 infants into his home. Why did it feel like more than charity? Why did her eyes still haunt him? He poured himself another glass of water, trying to shake the thought. But then, like an old wound reopening, memories of Amelia's illness returned, the sterile corridors, the faint smell of antiseptic, her fragile smile as she said, "Promise me you'll live for something real." He whispered to himself, maybe this is what she meant. But doubt crept in immediately. Who is Lena Gray, really? As dawn crept through the curtains, Ethan reached for his phone and dialed a familiar number. Daniel Shaw, a voice answered, half asleep. "It's Ethan," he said, his tone low. "I need you to find everything you can on someone named Lena Gray. Age, history, employment, everything." Daniel paused. "Now?" "Yes." Discreetly. "Understood." Ethan ended the call and rubbed his forehead. He didn't know what he was looking for, truth, reassurance, or a reason to stop caring, but he knew he wouldn't rest until he found it. He made his way quietly down the hall toward the nursery. The door was slightly open. Inside, soft morning light spilled over the room. The babies were asleep on Lena's chest as she sat curled up in a chair, still in the same robe from the night before. Her head rested against the cushion, eyes closed, breathing steady. Ethan stood at the doorway, frozen. For a moment, the world felt still. The tiny hands of the triplets rose and fell with her breath. One of them stirred, pressing her cheek against Lena's arm. Something shifted inside him, an ache, warm and heavy. He couldn't remember the last time he saw such purity. Innocence. Love without condition. He thought of Amelia again, how she longed for children, how the hospital told them their final IVF attempt had failed. He remembered her tears and his own silence. And now, this woman with her triplets, appearing out of nowhere, with eyes that mirrored his wife's, sat in his home like an unanswered prayer. He stepped back quietly, leaving them undisturbed. By afternoon, his phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Sending report now. You'll want to see this. Ethan opened the document, scrolling slowly. His chest tightened as the words appeared. Name, Lena Gray. Age, 27. Occupation, former neonatal nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. Reason for dismissal, ethical breach involving patient file, Mrs. Amelia Rowe. Dismissal date, 3 years ago, same week as patient's death. He read the line twice. Then again. Amelia. His wife. The same hospital. The same week. His hands trembled as he set the phone down. Coincidence? Impossible. He walked to the nursery. Lena was awake now, gently laying the babies in their crib. She turned as he entered, smiling faintly. They're finally sleeping, she said. Ethan's voice was low. You worked at St. Mary's Hospital? Her eyes flickered, surprise giving way to hesitation. Yes, I did. But I can explain. He held her gaze for a long second, searching, waiting, but something in him pulled back. He didn't speak. Didn't ask. Didn't listen. He turned and walked away. Lena reached out slightly. Ethan, please. But he was already gone. Moments later, the deep rumble of an engine echoed through the hall. The mansion's iron gates opened, and Ethan's car disappeared down the misty road. The city loomed ahead, gray and wet once more. He gripped the steering wheel, his heart pounding. Was she part of something bigger? Had his wife's death been more than just illness? He didn't know what answers awaited him at St. Mary's Hospital, but one thing was certain, he was done pretending not to care. Some truths, no matter how painful, refused to stay buried forever. And as Ethan sped through the waking city, one question burned through his mind. Was Lena Gray a victim, or the reason his wife died? The morning air was thick with fog as Ethan parked in front of St. Mary's Hospital. The sight of the building saddened him, the same sterile walls where he'd lost his wife. Now, he was back, not for closure, but for answers. He walked through the familiar corridors, the scent of disinfectant dragging memories to the surface. Nurses passed him without recognition. To them, he was just another visitor. To Ethan, this place was a graveyard of truth. He found his way to the records department, a dimly lit room filled with old cabinets and forgotten files. Behind the desk sat an elderly technician, glasses slipping down his nose as he tapped slowly on a keyboard. Ethan lowered his voice. I'm looking for the file of a former patient, Amelia Rowe. The man squinted. Those records are restricted, sir. Family or legal authorization only. Ethan slid an envelope across the desk. The faint sound of money inside caught the man's attention. Please, Ethan said firmly. I just need 10 minutes. The old man hesitated, then sighed and reached for a key. You didn't get it from me. Minutes later, Ethan sat alone in a dusty back room, surrounded by old paper files and faint humming from the fluorescent lights. The file marked Amelia Rowe felt heavier than it should. He opened it carefully. Page after page of medical reports, lab tests, scans, treatment logs. But something didn't add up. The dates overlapped. Dosage entries were scribbled over. Some progress notes were missing entirely. He frowned, flipping through until a smaller folder caught his eye. Employee disciplinary report, Lena Gray. His pulse quickened as he read. Accusation, unauthorized access to patient records, Mrs. Amelia Rowe. Action taken, immediate dismissal. But tucked behind that form was a handwritten letter, signed and dated 2 days before Amelia's death. He read it aloud under his breath. To the medical board, I have reason to believe Mrs. Amelia Rowe's diagnosis has been falsified. The tests show an immune disorder, not terminal cancer. The current drug trial overseen by Dr. Hensley misrepresents her condition. Continuing treatment could end her life. Lena Gray, RN. Ethan's hand trembled. His breath caught in his throat. They had lied. They had let Amelia die for profit. He sank into the chair, gripping the paper. His wife hadn't just been a patient, she'd been a test subject. For a long moment, Ethan couldn't move. The room felt smaller, the air colder. Everything he'd built, his wealth, his reputation, his peace, suddenly meant nothing. Finally, he stood, pocketed the document, and left without a word. What would you do if the truth he'd buried came back to life? By afternoon, he was back at the mansion. The garden shimmered in the light rain, and Lena sat under the awning, feeding the triplets with gentle patience. Ethan walked toward her, his face pale, his eyes hard. You worked at St. Mary's, he said quietly. You wrote this. He held up the folded letter. Lena froze. Her hand trembled around the baby's bottle. You found it. I did. Now tell me, why didn't you come to me? Her eyes filled with tears. Because no one believed me. They said I broke patient confidentiality. They destroyed my name. What did you tell them, Lena? She swallowed hard. Your wife didn't have cancer, Mr. Rowe. She had a treatable immune disorder. They lied to her, and they used her case for a private drug trial. Ethan stepped back, shaking his head. No, that's not possible. They showed me everything, the scans, the reports. They were falsified, Lena whispered. I saw the real results. I tried to warn her, but the doctor found out. I was fired the next day. Ethan's voice broke. She could have lived? Lena's tears fell freely. Yes. And before she died, she told me, if you ever see Ethan, tell him the truth. Silence hung between them, heavy and cruel. Ethan turned away, his pulse rising sharply. His mind replayed every moment, Amelia's trust, her pain, her final breath. He pressed his hand to his face, fighting back the wave of grief and rage. What have they done to her? He whispered. Would you forgive the people who destroyed your world, if the truth came from a stranger holding your future in her arms? The night air pressed against the windows as Ethan sat alone in his study. The letter from Lena lay open on the desk, its edges curled, its words burning into his mind. He hadn't moved in hours. The fire had died down, but his anger hadn't. Every breath felt heavy with questions that wouldn't stop echoing. Why had they lied? Why Amelia? And what was Lena's part in all this? The sudden vibration of his phone shattered the silence. He looked at the screen. Daniel Shaw. He answered. Tell me you found something. Daniel's tone was low. Ethan, I did more digging into St. Mary's trial logs. You might want to sit down. I'm already sitting. There was a pause. They were running an IVF embryo research program under the name Trial 47. The documents were sealed under a private sponsor. But here's where it gets bad. One of the genetic donor files matches yours and Amelia's data from your IVF treatment 5 years ago. Ethan froze. That's impossible. Those embryos were destroyed. No, Daniel said. They weren't. They were stolen. The hospital used them without authorization in their fertility experiments. I've verified the sample IDs, your names are listed. Ethan's grip tightened on the phone. You're saying... I'm saying the babies Lena carried may not be hers, not entirely. You and Amelia could be their biological parents. The line went quiet. Ethan felt the air leave his lungs. His pulse thudded in his ears. He whispered, "Send me everything." Minutes later, an encrypted folder arrived. Scans, records, DNA signatures, cold proof of something he couldn't even begin to comprehend. He closed his laptop and stood abruptly, heading down the hall. The house was dark except for the dim light from the nursery. Lena was there, rocking one of the triplets to sleep. Her face softened when she saw him. "Ethan," she said quietly, "you haven't rested." He stepped closer, holding out the printed papers. "I need you to look at this." She frowned, taking them carefully. Her eyes moved across the lines, confusion shifting into disbelief. IVF research, embryos. Amelia Rowe. Ethan Rowe. Her voice broke. "No. This can't be real." "It's real," he said flatly. "They used our genetic material, Lena. Without permission. Trial 47 was never a study, it was a theft." Lena covered her mouth. "I never knew. They told me the babies came from anonymous donors. I swear, Ethan, I didn't know." He didn't answer. His gaze moved to the crib, where the other two infants slept peacefully, unaware of the truth that had just ripped through the room. Lena's tears fell as she whispered, "Then they're yours?" Ethan nodded slowly, his voice shaking. "Mine, and Amelia's." The weight of those words crushed him. He walked to the crib, staring at the babies. Tiny fingers, soft breaths, innocent faces. They were the family Amelia had always wanted, the children she never got to hold. His throat tightened. He knelt beside them, resting a trembling hand on the edge of the crib. "They're hers," he whispered, his voice breaking, "and mine." Lena sank into a chair, sobbing quietly. "I thought I was saving strangers, Ethan. I didn't know I was carrying someone else's pain." He looked at her, no anger, just hollow disbelief. "You gave them life when the world tried to erase it. I don't blame you." For a long while, they both stayed silent. Only the faint hum of the rain outside filled the space. Ethan finally reached down and picked up one of the babies. She stirred slightly, pressing her face against his chest. He held her gently, his tears falling freely now. "You were never supposed to be born this way," he whispered. "But maybe you were meant to find me." He looked at the three sleeping faces, symbols of loss, miracles born from betrayal, and knew his life would never be the same again. Because sometimes, truth doesn't destroy you. It gives you something new to live for. The morning after the discovery, Ethan Rowe was no longer the man he had been a week ago. The truth had ripped him open, but it had also given him purpose. He had spent years building a business empire, now he was ready to burn it all if it meant justice for Amelia, and for the three children who carried her blood. By sunrise, his decision was made. He called Daniel. "File the lawsuit," he said simply. "Against St. Mary's Hospital, their research partners, and everyone who signed those trial papers." Daniel hesitated. "Ethan, this will go public. They'll try to ruin you." "Then let them try," Ethan said. "I'm done hiding." Within 48 hours, the world knew his name again, this time not for innovation or business success, but for scandal. Headlines screamed across every major network. Millionaire CEO accuses St. Mary's Hospital of genetic theft. Triplets born from illegal embryo experiment, CEO claims they're his. Reporters flooded his mansion gates. Drones hovered above the property. Board members called in panic, afraid of collapsing stock prices. But Ethan didn't flinch. He stood before the cameras one morning, dressed in black, Lena beside him holding one of the babies. His voice was calm but carried the weight of loss and conviction. "These children," he began, "are proof of what greed can do. But they're also proof of grace. My wife's life was stolen by a system that valued profit over truth. These 3 little girls are her legacy, and my reason to fight. Flashes lit up the stage like lightning. Questions flew from every direction. Mr. Rowe, are you confirming these are your biological children? Yes, he said without hesitation. DNA doesn't lie. Lena stood quietly beside him, her face pale under the lights. Every word he spoke made her feel exposed, admired by some, hated by others. The cameras zoomed in, catching every tremor in her hands. As they left the press hall, the noise outside grew louder. Crowds shouted, some cheering, others accusing. By evening, the internet had split into 2 sides, one praising Ethan as a hero, the other calling him unstable. Corporate partners demanded statements. The Rowe Tech board questioned his leadership. And worst of all, Lena became a target. Reporters cornered her outside a grocery store. Miss Gray, did you manipulate Ethan Rowe for money? Are the babies really his, or is this another publicity stunt? They threw words like stones, and she walked away in silence, clutching a diaper bag. That night, she found Ethan in his study, surrounded by documents and legal drafts. I can't stay, she said softly. You're losing everything because of me. He didn't look up. You didn't cause this. The world thinks I did, she whispered. If I go, maybe they'll stop. He finally turned, his expression firm. Lena, leaving won't fix this. You're part of this truth. And the truth doesn't hide. Her eyes welled up. You still believe we can win? He nodded slowly. I don't believe. I know. For a moment, the tension broke. The baby's laughter echoed from the nursery upstairs, a fragile sound that carried more strength than either of them could find in words. Across town, in a sleek office high above the city, Dr. Hensley, the hospital CEO, slammed his hand against a desk. Get me the legal team, he barked. We'll bury him before this story ruins us. An assistant nodded nervously. Sir, what about the genetic records? Forge them, Hensley snapped. Make it look like he fabricated everything. The war for truth had begun. Back in the mansion, Ethan stood by the nursery window, watching the rain return, soft, steady, cleansing. Lena stood beside him, holding one of the triplets close. He looked at her, voice steady but filled with quiet resolve. They've taken enough from us, he said. But this time, we fight back. Lena nodded through her tears. Together? Ethan reached for her hand. Together. No matter what it costs. Would you risk everything, your name, your empire, your peace, to expose the truth the world tried to bury? 3 weeks later, the world was watching. The High Court of London buzzed with voices, cameras, and whispers as reporters filled every seat. Outside, protesters waved signs demanding justice, while others accused Ethan Rowe of chasing attention. Ethan stood near the front of the courtroom, his hands clasped, his face calm but pale. Beside him sat Lena, her eyes fixed on the wooden bench before them, clutching a folded handkerchief. Across the room, the legal team for St. Mary's Hospital shuffled papers, whispering among themselves. Their lead attorney, a sharp man named Mr. Carver, glanced toward Ethan with a smirk that barely hid his contempt. The judge entered. Silence fell instantly. Case 2185, Rowe v. St. Mary's Hospital and Affiliates. Proceed. Daniel Shaw rose first, adjusting his tie. Your Honor, my client is not seeking profit, but justice. The evidence will show that St. Mary's Hospital used genetic material belonging to Ethan and Amelia Rowe without consent, violating every ethical and legal boundary in medical research. Carver stood slowly. Your Honor, my client denies all accusations. Mr. Rowe's claims are based on emotional instability following his wife's passing. We will also present evidence suggesting Mr. Rowe is unfit to care for the triplets, whose parentage remains questionable. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras clicked. Lena's hands trembled. Ethan's jaw tightened. Carver continued, pacing confidently. This man, once a respected CEO, now stands here spinning conspiracy theories about stolen embryos and corruption, when, in truth, he is a grieving widower projecting his loss onto these children. We ask that custody be transferred to the state pending investigation. Ethan's blood boiled, but Daniel placed a hand on his arm. "Let me handle this." He approached the judge and handed over a folder. "Your Honor, Exhibit A, DNA analysis confirming the triplets share the genetic markers of Ethan and Amelia Rowe. Exhibit B, medical files showing falsified data during Mrs. Rowe's treatment. Exhibit C, Lena Gray's written and verbal testimony detailing the hospital's cover-up." The courtroom murmured. Ethan glanced at Lena. She nodded faintly, then stood when the judge called her forward. "Ms. Gray," the judge said, "in your own words, tell the court what you witnessed." Her voice trembled but grew stronger with each word. "Mrs. Rowe was misdiagnosed. She didn't have cancer. She had a rare immune disorder. When I reported it, I was fired. 2 years later, I was told to assist in a new fertility trial. I had no idea the embryos used belonged to Mrs. Rowe and her husband." Carver scoffed. "And we're expected to believe you, a dismissed nurse with no record of credibility?" Daniel stood sharply. "You'll believe her because the truth doesn't need credentials. It only needs courage." The judge called for silence. Ethan stood slowly. "Your Honor, may I speak?" The judge nodded. Ethan turned to face the room, his voice steady. "They stole from my wife, from science, from truth. But I won't let them steal these children's future. My wife spent her final days believing the world was good. I owe it to her to make that true again." For a moment, the room fell silent. Then came a montage of memory in his mind, Amelia's pale face, her hand in his, her whisper, "Promise me, find peace." He looked down at the floor, whispering, "I'm trying." The judge cleared his throat. "This court will review the evidence and deliver a ruling in 3 days." The gavel struck. Adjourned. Outside, chaos erupted. Reporters swarmed. Microphones shoved into faces. Protesters shouted, some for him, others against him. "Mr. Rowe, are you confident you'll win? Miss Gray, are you in love with him? Who really owns those children?" Daniel and security escorted them through the crowd, but the noise was relentless. In the car, silence replaced the chaos. Lena turned to Ethan, her eyes red but soft. "You did what she would have wanted," she said quietly. "You stood up for the truth." Ethan looked out the window, the city lights flashing across his reflection. "Let's hope the world listens." He exhaled slowly, watching the rain start again, gentle, endless, and uncertain. 3 days. That's all it would take to decide everything, his future, his wife's legacy, and the fate of the 3 little lives sleeping back home. What would you do if justice depended on a single verdict, and the truth had everything to lose? The courtroom was silent. Even the hum of the air conditioner seemed to fade beneath the weight of anticipation. Ethan sat at the front table beside Lena, the triplets' car seats lined up near their feet. They slept peacefully, unaware that their future was about to be decided by strangers in black robes. Rain tapped lightly on the tall windows, a quiet reminder of how this all began. Across the aisle, the St. Mary's lawyers whispered urgently among themselves. Their lead attorney, Carver, looked pale for the first time since the trial began. Ethan's hands tightened together. He had faced shareholders, boardrooms, and loss, but nothing compared to the tension in that moment. When the judge finally entered, the entire room rose. Ethan's pulse quickened. The judge cleared his throat and began reading the verdict. After careful review of evidence and testimony, this court finds that St. Mary's Hospital and its research partners engaged in unauthorized genetic experimentation, utilizing embryos belonging to Ethan and Amelia Rowe. A collective gasp filled the room. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward. The judge continued. This court further confirms that the triplets, Hope, Faith, and Grace Rowe, are the biological children of Ethan and Amelia Rowe. Custody shall remain with Mr. Rowe, who acted in good faith upon discovery of the truth. Lena's hand flew to her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes. The judge's tone hardened. Additionally, the Crown shall open a criminal investigation into the parties responsible for falsified records and medical negligence leading to Mrs. Amelia Rowe's death. Restitution is ordered to the Rowe estate and to Ms. Lena Gray for wrongful dismissal and emotional distress. The gavel struck once, echoing through the hall. Case closed. For a heartbeat, the world stood still. Then relief hit Ethan like a wave. His chest loosened. His vision blurred. He turned to Lena, who was already crying quietly. Their eyes met, no words, just the shared understanding that truth had finally won. Reporters surged forward as soon as they stepped outside. Mr. Rowe! How do you feel? Miss Gray, what happens now? Ethan shielded his eyes from the flashing lights and said only, truth won today. That one line spread across every news station by nightfall. Hours later, the mansion was quiet again. The rain had returned, falling softly against the windows. The fire in the living room burned low, casting gold light across the walls. The triplets slept soundly in their crib, their tiny breaths steady and calm. Ethan sat beside Lena on the couch, both of them exhausted but peaceful for the first time in months. He looked at her, his voice gentle. You lost everything for the truth. Your job, your reputation, your safety. Let me give it back. She smiled faintly, brushing away a tear. You already have. He studied her face, tired, honest, brave. You could have walked away, he said softly. But you didn't. Lena looked toward the nursery. Because she wouldn't have wanted me to. He nodded, understanding instantly. Amelia. Lena smiled through her tears. She told me once, if truth costs you everything, pay it. It's still worth more than silence. I didn't realize what she meant until now. Ethan reached for her hand. Then we'll make sure her truth lives on. Outside, the rain fell gently against the glass, no longer heavy or cruel, but cleansing, like the world itself was exhaling. He stood, walking to the window. The city lights shimmered beyond the drizzle, glowing softly. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel haunted by the past. He felt free. He whispered, justice doesn't bring back what we lost, but it gives meaning to what remains. Behind him, Lena whispered, and what remains? Ethan turned, smiling faintly. Hope, faith, and grace. The thunder rolled far away, distant and harmless. The rain continued, peaceful and pure, no longer a symbol of pain, but of promise. Would you still fight for truth if it meant standing alone? Or would you choose silence, knowing the world might never forgive you? 6 months later, the Rowe mansion no longer felt like a museum. It was alive. Morning sunlight spilled through wide glass windows, landing on toys scattered across the marble floor. The once silent halls now echoed with soft laughter and the sound of tiny feet. Hope, faith, and grace, each wobbling and giggling, were taking their first steps. Ethan crouched nearby, arms open, eyes shining. Come on, girls. One step at a time. Lena laughed softly from the doorway, clapping her hands as the triplets toddled toward him, their little hands waving for balance. When they finally reached him, Ethan scooped them all up, spinning slowly, their laughter filling the air like music. For a man who once lived only for profit and control, this sound was his new measure of success. Have you ever realized the thing you were chasing was nothing compared to what life gave you by accident? Later that afternoon, the ballroom had been transformed into a press venue. Golden banners bore the name the Amelia Rowe Foundation, its mission clear: to protect whistleblowers, support single mothers, and fund ethical medical research. Ethan stood at the podium, dressed in a simple gray suit, the triplets' small bracelets glinting on his wrist. Lena stood beside him, steady and graceful, her name already printed as the foundation's first director. He spoke calmly, his voice deep but warm. 6 months ago, I believed my life had ended in loss. But truth, no matter how painful, became the seed of change. Today, we honor Amelia, not with grief, but with purpose. And we honor Lena, who carried the truth when no one else would. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. Yet the moment felt private, an ending written in light instead of sorrow. When the event ended, Ethan found Lena standing by the fountain outside. The sun was setting, its reflection dancing across the ripples. He smiled. "You did well today." She chuckled quietly. "You mean we did?" He nodded. "You know, I used to think legacy meant buildings, money, things that last. But I was wrong." She looked at him curiously. "What does it mean now?" Ethan glanced toward the mansion, where the triplets were playing with their nanny near the steps. "It means leaving behind people who heal what you couldn't." Lena's eyes softened. "You really have changed, Ethan." He smiled faintly. "Loss teaches you fast." That night, after the triplets were asleep, Ethan stood once again by the wide window of his study. Rain had begun to fall, softly, almost shyly, like the world exhaling peace. The city lights blurred through the droplets, and he thought of that night months ago, when he had seen Lena for the first time, soaked, trembling, holding the children he now called his own. Lena entered quietly, carrying one of the babies who had woken up. She joined him at the window, the child's tiny head resting on her shoulder. "You still think of her?" she asked softly. He nodded, eyes still on the rain. "Every day. But she's here, in them. In all of this." Lena smiled. "She'd be proud of you." He looked at her. "No. She'd be proud of you. You were her voice when the world chose silence." The rain eased, the clouds parting to reveal the faint blush of dawn. The first light touched their faces, painting everything gold. Ethan whispered, "Sometimes life hides miracles in broken places." Lena rested her head lightly on his shoulder. "And sometimes, broken places are where new stories begin." He smiled, watching the triplets stir in their cribs on the baby monitor. Hope. Faith. Grace. Amelia couldn't have chosen better names. The camera of life pulled back, past the rain-slick glass, past the mansion that now glowed with warmth, until only the faint sound of laughter remained. The storm had passed. And in its place, life began again. Would you have stopped that day in the rain? Or would you have driven past the miracle waiting to change your life?